So, Amazon's The Wheel of Time season dose just wrapped up its principal photography. That means they're done doing the filming, and now they have to take what they filmed and edit it and do special effects before we can get the season 2 to watch at home, either by the end of this year or the beginning of next year. So let's talk about the Wheel of Time show, season 2. Some people are excited for it, and some people are not as excited. Let's talk about it, everybody. We're gonna talk about the Wheel of Time.
Oh, he's technically Mexican and 3/4 American, but for 3 generations he's got that nationality. Great-great-grandpa headed south, whose kids had kids then turned around. It's not what the show's about, but it's why he's Mexican technically. It helps that he was raised in New Mexico, lived in Guadalajara for 2 years, speaks fluent Spanish with a bachelor's degree in language, and examine taquito.
So, I already know that this video is going to make some people upset, but it's going to make me happy. So, I guess, just watch it if you like me. I absolutely love the Wheel of Time books, and there was a time where I was very excited for Amazon's Wheel of Time show. A large majority of my audience on this channel came from my reaction to the Wheel of Time trailer and a sketch that I made about the show and reading the book with my wife. And I'm super grateful for those of you who have stuck around. I absolutely love the books, and I was super excited for the show, and I really wanted it to be good, and I thought it was going to be good, and I enjoyed the first half of the show quite a bit. There were some issues from the very beginning, but I was willing to look past those issues because I could see the value behind the show as a whole, and I had a lot of faith in it. I did weekly live streams talking about all of the episodes, and I got a bunch of my friends who'd never heard of the Wheel of Time to give it a shot. And I had to apologize to all of those friends because the second half of the show was not good, and it was so bad that it even tainted the first half of the show that I had enjoyed at first. It really just falls apart. And if you watched the weekly live streams, you'd know that my friend Tanner, who is now a frequent on the Sunday live stream Best Gen, which you should check out because it's good. We're talking about Raised by Wolves right now. It's a good show that's not bad like the Wheel of Time. I got him to watch the Wheel of Time, and he didn't finish. He watched all of it except for the last episode and just had no desire to keep going. I, of course, had to finish it. As a fan of the series, I had to stick with it and hope that it could end on a high note, but it didn't. I also constantly had to explain stuff to my wife, who at that point had not read the books. She's about halfway done now, and I know if you're waiting on those reviews, that we'll get them out. She just got really busy, and we haven't had time to film her reviewing the rest of the books. She's gotten past book 3, but that's all we have up on the channel right now. The show is a mess. It's full of problems, and it really falls apart. And I would be fully willing to forgive all of those mistakes structurally and the production problems that they had during the pandemic. Like I totally get it. Like, the first season is usually rough for most TV shows, but the biggest problem with the show is not these little problems. It's the showrunner, who I found out after I watched the whole series has complete disdain for the source material. And that's really unfortunate because I don't think that the problems with season 1 are going to be fixed with season 2. I will still watch it and I will still give it a fair shot, but it's already on bad footing and it's already started with really bad faith. Here's what I mean. I'm not just talking out of my batoot. I've got receipts. If you want like a much better explanation of all of these problems, go watch Shadiversity talking about it on Night's Watch, because they do a really good job there, but I'm going to try my best. So, Rafe Judkins, why does he hate the Wheel of Time? Apart from all the technical difficulties that they had with the show, they also decided for some reason to make fundamental changes from the source material that completely alter the whole story and cause huge problems further on down the line that they apparently just don't care about. And Rafe has said that he's made these changes so that the show can be more inclusive and reflect better today's society in the show. Rafe and the writers of the show think that these changes make the story better, but all they do is create problems. There's so much to cover in this video. I don't even know how I'm going to do it. But let's talk about the casting. A lot of people took issue with the casting of the main characters from Emmons Field. In the books, Emmons Field is a secluded town, and for the most part, everyone there was the same race, except for Rand, who didn't know that he was, spoilers, adopted, and he looked different. This comes into play later in the books because his heritage is very important, specifically his red hair, which is something that was not common in the village, and he kind of stood out from the rest of the people in his village. Now, the show decided to make Emmons Field really diverse, and there were characters of all sorts of colors and skin tones, and a lot of people took issue with this, but I didn't really care that much. I was fine with these changes, even though it does present some problems with the text. I was willing to overlook it, because for the most part, the people who they cast in those roles did a pretty good job. I think that Rand is really well cast. He's a little bit bland, but he's kind of bland in the books too, and he has a lot of room to grow. I loved the casting for Matt, who was absolutely fantastic, and he's gone now, so I mean, good. I also really liked the casting for Nynaeve. I thought her acting was really good. Later on in the season, her writing is not good, and that makes her delivery awkward, but for the most part, I thought she did a really good job of working with what she'd gotten. Egwene is problematic because no one likes Egwene in the books either, and so like not liking her in the TV show is like a complaint, but also book accurate. They do give her all the screen time though, and it's a bit rough. So even though a lot of people had problems with them diversifying Emmons Field, I for the most part was okay with it. I acknowledge it creates some problems, but it's not that big of a hurdle to get over. What I do really have a problem with is the casting that they announced for season 2. They made Avienda black with. And look, you can call me racist if it makes you feel better, but it's not true, because this casting fundamentally changes the story of the Wheel of Time! Avienda's character is an Aiel from the books, and every single Aiel person is ginger. They are pale-skinned and red-haired. Ooh. Hot dang. And spoilers, Rand is secretly an Aiel person. That's why he has the red hair, and that's why it's important. They all have, that's where red hair comes from. And so you find out, because he looked different from all of his friends in Emmons Field, that he was an Aiel, because all Aiel looked the same. This fundamentally changes the story of the whole book, because Rand's lineage is very important, and the Aiel culture is very important. And if you're making their culture diverse, that creates problems. Look, there is lots of diversity in the Wheel of Time already. There are tons of different races and peoples of all different colors. So I have nothing against this actress. I haven't seen her in anything. I have no problem with you casting black people in a TV show, but just not this character. Doesn't make any sense, and it fundamentally changes the story. Also, I mean, why would it be necessary? Does fundamentally changing this character into a black character make that character better? Are black people better than white people? That sounds kind of racist. I think that all people are equally great, and we should respect the source material, because it's great. Anyway, we gotta move on, but the show is filled with a lot of this stuff that I tolerated, but it just got so bad at the end, I couldn't see past it anymore, and it was just, oh, my wife hated the finale. My wife hated the last episode, and my family all hated it. They were just confused, and they called me up and said, why did you recommend this show? It's nonsense. I'm really embarrassed. I'm so embarrassed. In season 1, they also decided to fundamentally change the world building of the Wheel of Time by saying that men and women are interchangeable, which they're not in real life, and they're not in the books. The books have a very specific magic system that is different for men and women. Magic is basically a coin with two sides. It's the same magic source, but there's two parts of it. And men can channel one half, and women can channel the other half. And the reason that is important is because the male half of the magic has been poisoned by the devil. And that makes all of the boys who channel the poisoned magic go crazy and kill everyone and then themselves, which is really scary. What makes it worse is that the chosen one trope in the Wheel of Time is a man called the dragon, and the prophecies say that the dragon will be reborn, and he is the one who will have to save the world, even though he's going to be crazy. And that's a really, really cool part of the story. That the main character, the savior, who's going to have to kill the devil at the end of the book, could also kill everyone else because he's crazy. And it's a really interesting part of the story. Well, the show decided to be more inclusive, and that the dragon could be reborn, which basically works like reincarnation. The dragon could be reborn as a man or a woman, which just makes the story dumb. Because if the dragon is reborn as a woman, then you don't have the same conflict. And they took this so far, they didn't even mention the two sides of the magic in the show. Now, by the end of season 1, they still chose the same character to be the dragon, but they implied that it could have been any of them. And that totally changes the story. It's also even worse because later on in the books, there's precedent for that happening. One of the bad guys is reborn into a woman's body, as punishment from the devil character, and he can still channel the male's magic, and he's actually used as a spy because everyone thinks he's a girl, but he's actually just a man. And the show just completely ignores this canon and tries to say that if the dragon is reborn as a female, then they won't have any problems. So it just doesn't make any sense. I've just gone everywhere. They initially said that season 1 was going to cover mostly book 1, but they ended up taking out huge portions of book 1, and they didn't add anything from the other books. They just wrote their own stuff because they thought it was better, but it wasn't better than what they took out. And they said several times, "Oh, sorry, we don't have time to cover these parts of the book because we only have 8 episodes or whatever, and we have to hurry on and be able to tell the whole story." But they literally spend half of the show telling their own story that's made up and has nothing to do with any of the books. Half of the episodes of this show could have been removed, and nothing from book 1 would have been removed. Which, look, I get it. I realize that in an adaptation, you have to make sacrifices because stuff that works in books does not always work in TV shows. And you have to drastically change a lot of things when you're changing mediums to get it to work right. I get it. You have to have different viewpoints and all this stuff. Like, there's a lot of movie magic that you have to finagle into a show to make it work properly. I get it. And I'm on record saying that episode 4, which largely covers events that were not in the book, was my favorite episode. I think it still is. It was a really strong episode, even though it made a lot of changes from the book. I was okay with those changes because, for the most part, they fell in line with the spirit of the books. Some people said that Nynaeve's big healing came out of nowhere, and yeah, it's a little bit Mary Sue, but at the same time, it also showed that she was not in control of that massive ball of healing, and later on, she couldn't do it again, which totally works for her character. Her character is Super Saiyan strong, but she can't ever do it at will. She has huge barriers to overcome with her anger and submitting to the magic system to get it to work right. So even though it was a big change, I was okay with it because it felt in character. But all these other changes, they just spent so much time having nothing to do with the book and lying and saying they didn't have time to cover the book's events, which was really frustrating. They also make the good Amyrlin Seat a bad Amyrlin Seat by having her have sisters swear fealty to her on the Oath Rod, which is literally something that the bad Amyrlin Seat does later in the series, and the showrunners thought that they were being clever and showing that this character was cool and good, but she literally did the thing that the evil character does later in the series. Oh, it's so stupid. Like I said, there were lots of problems with the show, and I forgave a lot of them. All of these changes, I was like, yeah, I'm not a big fan of these things happening, but like I can overlook it because I really want the show to be good. But after the finale was so disappointing, and then after the show was over, this was brought to my attention. Somebody leaked the original script for episode 1, which was written by Rafe Judkins himself, the showrunner of the TV show and one of the writers of the series. He wrote the original script for episode 1, which, thank the Lord, was changed a lot before it was filmed. A lot of it still made through, but this script reads like a fan fiction. It reads like an erotic fanfic. Here are a couple of lines from it. We can't see the dragon baby's gender because we don't know if it's a boy or a girl. Also, the Aes Sedai who sees the vision of the baby tells Moraine to kill the dragon reborn, which would be really bad. Moraine's whole mission is to find the dragon and stop the other Aes Sedai from killing him because they know it's gonna be a man. Literally, in the books, they know that the dragon has to be reborn and they know that it has to be a man, and that's why Moraine goes to find the dragon, because she knows if someone else finds him first, he will be gentled and they will take away his magic, and then everyone will die because the devil wins. But in the show, they don't know if the dragon's gonna be a boy or a girl, and they can't see its gender, so why would she need to go find the dragon? Because if it's a girl, nothing would happen. Okay, let's get to the erotic stuff. Also, this line is hilarious. Nynaeve says, "To be a woman is to be always alone and never alone. The Wheel of Time world is a matriarchy. The women are in charge." I don't know what this line means. Also, Nynaeve just admits to Elaine that some of the girls die during the coming of age ceremony, which is ridiculous. But yeah, makes sense because the show decided to turn this ceremony into throwing girls off of cliffs into rapid waters.
Be strong, Egwene.
And yeah, people would die from that. Oh, and then the love triangle was so stupid. It's 100% clear on Perrin's wife's face that she thinks he's in love with another woman, Egwene. So then Matt goes down on a girl so that he can steal her bracelet. And oh boy, it's graphic. All sex scenes in episode 1 will be focused on the pleasure of the woman. Likewise, the female body should be seen as strong and in control in these scenes. Oh, light. Yes, I'm close, Matt. I'm so close. He pulls his head up from her bush so he can be charming and smile. And then she shoves his head back down in between her legs. She clenches his hair and we see her golden bracelet that he's gonna steal later so he can pay for lamps. Yes, there, yes. Oh, and her bracelet falls off in the mud. She breathes out for a long moment, eyes closed, heaving, then slowly she slides down the wall, her body brushing along his lips the entire way. Her stomach, her breasts, and finally her lips. And then she offers to go down on Matt, and he says no because she would have found the bracelet that fell in the mud, and so he sends her off, and he takes the bracelet. This is really gross. Look, I'm married. I like sex, but that's not what these books were about. This is just pornographic. And then Moraine takes a bath like she did in the show, and I love this line. The camera tastefully misses her nudity as it scrolls up her body. But, like, you just had a guy going down on a girl. Like, why would you need to be tasteful here all of a sudden? And then Egwene meets up with Rand, and he fingers her. Yeah, it's gross. So, there's that.
Now, Princess Vespa, at last we are alone.
Oh, no, I hate you, I hate you, I hate you, leave me alone. Yet, I find you strangely attractive.
Of course you do. Druish princesses are often attracted to money and power, and I have both, and you know it.
Oh, leave me alone.
No, kiss me.
No, no, yes, no,
No.
yes, no, yes. Oh, your helmet is so big.
Rafe Judkins!
You need it on the bridge, sir.
Knock on my door! Knock next time!
Yes, sir.
Did you see anything?
No, sir. I didn't see you playing with your dolls again.
Good!
Also, there's a bunch of F words, which doesn't make sense because the book has its own swearing. That was part of the world building that Robert Jordan did. He made his own swears. So use those. If you like the books, use those swears. The script is just a mess. This just goes to show the attitude of this showrunner. He's treating the show like it's his fan fiction, not like he actually cares about the source material. And that's also evident in all of the changes that they made for the show. Look, I'm not even a book purist. I fully accepted that you have to make some changes in adaptation, but not when those changes fundamentally alter the story and the world building that the author worked so hard to make. When you fundamentally change the core of a story this much, I don't know how you can say that you were ever a fan of the original story. Rafe Judkins and the writers made all of these changes and wrote all of this extra material because they genuinely think that it's better than the source material. And it's not. So this has been a big, long rant. And all of it was spurned on because of the season 2 announcement. So am I excited for season 2? No, not really. They made a lot of mistakes in season 1, and it looks like they're going to be making the same mistakes in season 2 because they still have the same showrunner who has said in public on Twitter that he's willing to just change the sexuality of the characters to spite people who don't agree with him. And that's bad. I really wanted to like the show. I did like the first half of it. And I thought that it had a lot of potential, but when I saw the announcement for season 2, I felt nothing. And that made me really sad because I was so excited for this show. I was 100% on board and I had a lot of faith, and that just got completely shattered. There are so many other problems with the show, and And we went a little bit more in depth in a lot of these problems on our show and after show. And that was the precursor to Best Gen, which is what our Sunday live stream that we're doing now. But I will be watching season 2 when it comes out, and we'll be talking about it on Best Gen. I mean, we're not going back to an after show after this, because it just feels so hollow and just so much disrespect. And I realize that there are a lot of people who love the show, and that's good for them. I'm glad that they found something that they enjoy in life, but I really don't understand how anyone can enjoy both the show and the books. I'm really glad I still have the books, because they're really good and they're really different. So this has been a huge bummer of an episode. But I've been sitting on this for a while, and I've basically stopped making Wheel of Time content like I used to. I was making a bunch of it, and it was getting me a bunch of subscribers too. But my faith in the show was just shattered by the end of it, and it makes it really hard to keep making Wheel of Time content. I mean, my YouTube banner is the freaking Wheel of Time. I love the books, and so yeah, I'm sorry for this total downer of a video, but I just needed to get that off my chest. I needed to get that out of me, because it's been eating at me for a long time. I guess we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens in season 2. So I'm sorry for this depressing video, but bye.